Hello and welcome to Expats Everywhere. If you could tell us your name, where you're from, and a little about yourself.
Hi, I'm Hyung, and I am South Korean, but I grew up in Kenya all my life. And then I went to American International School, and so I ended up in the States, in Texas, where I attended Texas Christian University. And then afterwards, I went to Turkey to work there for 2 years, and now I'm currently in Penang, Malaysia.
So, what countries have you worked in? Is it just Turkey and Malaysia?
Turkey and Malaysia.
But you've lived in the United States.
Yeah, I lived there like 4.5, 5 years. So yeah, I graduated like a semester late because I changed my major like 4 different times. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. So
Okay.
yeah.
What is it like working in Malaysia?
Malaysia is super humid. It is also a very wonderful country. It is very like a hodgepodge of different cultures, and so there's a lot of Chinese people and also people from India and just everyone's just like from different diverse cultures. And so, especially in Penang, they speak English, and so that's been really easy for me compared to when I lived in Turkey, because in Turkey you have to speak language, but here you can get around by just speaking English. And so that's been a huge smooth transition. And also it's a really wonderful country. People here are really sweet. The food is really like rich and also really cheap here. So a lot of people from the mainland end up coming to Penang over the weekends for like just weekend trips. And so it is an amazing place to live.
Brilliant. What kinds of jobs are available for English speaking expats?
Well, as far as I know, like there's a lot of people here that do Airbnbs, and I'm personally a teacher, and so a lot of the times, like the spouses do Airbnbs, while like the other partner is actually being a teacher at our school. And so that's an option. A lot of people are business related, so they travel back and forth. So they had to have their house here. They travel back and forth doing business in Penang, in Singapore, and then the mainland. So this is kind of their home base for a lot of people.
Cool. We've actually seen that there are a lot of retirees that are in Penang,
Mhm.
expat retirees. Do you notice this? Do you see a lot of retirees around the city?
Yes, there's a lot of it's during like New Year's I ended up coming to back to Penang because of my visa. But I met this couple that said that they have a house in Penang, and what they do is they go 6 months during the winter time. They stay in Penang, while 6 months like during like the nice just summery springtime, they go to London and where their family's at. And so there's a lot of people here who have retirement like homes, and a lot of the times these people have been working here in Penang. And so what they end up doing is they just buy a house here and they come here during like the kind of rainy like season or dry seasons here where the weather is really nice.
Okay. Well, let's zero in on what you do. You're an international school teacher. What does a typical day look like for you at your job?
A typical day is we're expected to be at school by 8 a.m., but a lot of the teachers come by 7:30 because we have to get ready for school. I'm a middle school teacher, so it's a little different, but we're expected to work from 8 to 4 p.m. But usually our school hours are from 8:15 to 3:10 p.m. The reason that we have to go all the way to 4 is usually a lot of the teachers do extracurricular activities after classes. And so they'll have this thing called X blocks where they will do things like a dance club or a swimming club or other different forms of activities for the students to do for middle schoolers. That's the same case for the high schoolers, but usually high schoolers also after 4, they will have like varsity or junior varsity sports. And so they'll be doing sports like activities or doing drama or doing music like choir related activities. And so high schoolers usually have more time afterwards to do other activities. And then afterwards, usually like kids are asked to leave campus by 5:30, except on Fridays where they can stay until 10 p.m. So yeah, the students really love the school and they will not leave school. Like they always have to be kicked out. I'm like, leave school. Like don't I would never stay at school for so long, but they seem to just love it here. So yeah.
They must love you guys as teachers. That's awesome.
Well, thank
How
you. We try.
how much can you expect to earn there?
So, as a teacher at Penang, there's a lot of international schools, and you get paid around 3,000 to 10,000 ringgit per month. And also for our school, we get housing as well as also airline tickets to come here. And after our second year, we get like tickets during Christmas break and also during summer break to go back and forth to our home location.
Okay. Well, as we know it, Penang is quite inexpensive to live. So let's look at that lower end of the range you said. Let's go all the way to the bottom at 3,000 ringgit per month, which is under 1,000 USD. Do you think this is enough money, and what kind of lifestyle can you live?
I think that there is no struggles of living with like 3,000 ringgit because the food prices and everything is like extremely cheap here. And also, housing wise, like we don't have to really worry about it because our school does it for us. But I heard rent is really cheap here, but it is really expensive to buy a house here in Penang. And so that is why a lot of times expats will like save up a ton of money and then afterwards like buy a house, or they'll do a long-term investment if they know for sure that they'll want a house in Penang. And so living expense wise, like you can do whatever you want. I have a car right now. My school was willing to give me a loan for, so I'm paying that off. But like even with that loan, I have my younger brother here, and like I use a ton of money for him buying, going out and eating out, and also traveling. But like I always have more than enough, and so I think it just shows like how cheap living expenses here is. Yeah.
Okay, well, you brought up the point of saving. So how much can
Mhm.
you save if you're making 3,000 ringgit per month? How much can you
Mhm.
save per month?
So what I do is I always take out how much like I want to save per month, knowing how much my expenses will be because of certain situations. Like my brother today has to go to the orthodontist, and so I know that I had to take that fund out before. But also our school has this like really cool program that is associated with the Malaysian government called EPF. And so it's like a retirement fund that they can do for you where they take out like 10% per year. And so they kind of save up for your retirement money later on. And I just started that because I didn't have a retirement fund program since I don't really have a home location or home bank. What they do is they are willing to help people who are foreigners kind of have a retirement fund in Malaysia before they end up leaving the country.
That's awesome. And you're so smart to set aside what you want to save and then just work off of the rest. That's so smart. Well done.
Thank you.
How much money do you need to start up? So you're moving from one country to another. In your case, you moved from Turkey to Malaysia. How much money
Right.
do you need to start up? What are those
Um,
expenses like?
yeah, usually when you first move to a new country, you end up using a ton more money than you think you need because you need to buy appliances. Like I didn't have a microwave. I'm like, I need a microwave, so I need to buy that. Or I need to buy like a sofa. So like things like that. Our school ended up giving us some of the appliances that we needed, but usually excluding like all these other extra things that you need to buy, I would say like you need to start up with like a good solid like $2,000, $3,000. Like just having that in storage so that as you go, like you use just a little bit, but making sure not to buy too much in the first few months that you're there because it is a bit overwhelming. I have experienced that while living in Turkey and Malaysia. So word of wisdom is that just make sure that when you're spending money that you're very like slow at like investing because sometimes people get carried away because everyone's buying everything and so you're in that like strive to, oh, I should buy this too because they're buying it and like I kind of need it, I think. And so it's really important to really be wise and think to yourself like, do I really need this, or can I buy something better, or can I wait for a bit? It's money that you need to spend, but it's money that you won't spend next year like with the same things. And so it's kind of an investment thing, so just be patient with yourself.
Nice.
Yeah.
How should someone pack to move there, and what's the weather like?
Well, the weather here is pretty much summer all year around, and so it is great for those who love summer and humidity. I personally do not want to come to Malaysia because of the humidity. I do not like humidity, but it is bearable because there's so many ACs around here. And once you get like you arrive here after like 2 or 3 months of living here, you kind of just adjust, your body adjusts to it. And so I would say just like summer clothing all year round. People here though, like that have been living here for years, wear like long jeans and like cardigans outside. And I just stare at them like, what is wrong? I mean, for them now, like they say it's cold during
Right.
like winter times, which is like between August and like October where it's raining a lot.
But it's not classic winter where we're from, right?
So,
So
you know,
what are some things that you can't find in Malaysia that you recommend people bring?
well, it depends on where in Malaysia you go. In Penang itself, like they've developed so drastically in the past few years. And so right now, if you want to buy like cereal from the States, like for example, Captain Crunch or like Reese's peanut butter cups and all these other things, you can find them in places like the mall. You can find a lot of things that you might miss. I would say though, bring appliances. So for example, certain things like kitchen appliances like knives or oven pans and things like that. They're not the greatest quality here. I would highly recommend that you bring those if you can. Anything that is personal to you, important to you. I mean, I think that's really important because you kind of need home sometimes. So
Cool, good advice. Well,
yeah.
let's switch gears now. Let's talk about safety. How safe is it there, and do you feel safe on a personal level?
I think from a scale from like 1 to 10, I would say I feel safe like around 8.59-ish. Penang is super known. Okay, so there's not a lot of police around, so that you don't get caught much if you like break a traffic light here. But also the thing is, people here are very friendly, and I haven't felt insecure about anything before. Also, I have been living in a hub at our school, and so I can't really say like this is the safety protocol, but like when I hear the news on the radio, like there's not a lot of things that happen that are as drastic as things that happened in Kenya when I was growing up there. And so I would say I feel pretty safe here.
Cool. Well, how do you meet people, and what can you do for fun?
Well, there's so many like activities that you can do here. There's a lot of opportunities outside of school where a lot of people join like Spartan race like training, and a lot of people do Zumba. I do Zumba, and also there's just a lot of like activities that you can do. There's a lot of gardens where you can meet a ton of people there, especially if you go at a certain time, and then people start recognizing you.
What's the visa process like?
The visa process, Malaysia has gone strict over the years. Because there's a lot of immigrants that come in and then afterwards they buy a ton of land in Penang or different places in Malaysia. And so in order to confront that and stop that from happening further on, what they do is they require you to have a work visa or a student visa or whatever visa, but you need, if you're here in a work visa, you have to stay here in the country without leaving the country on for 185 days. Right now, I can't leave. Although school year is over, I can't leave home until like July 2nd because of my 185-day per session where I have to stay in the country. After the first year, like you can leave right after. But if, for example, I plan to stay for 2 years, then I have to do 185 days again, mostly because like then I don't have to pay like ridiculous amount of taxes. In order to like prevent that from happening, I have to stay here longer.
Okay. Could you tell us what is the healthcare like, and would you feel comfortable getting a procedure done there?
Yes, there's a lot of people who actually came here from the States in order to get surgery, and the orthodontist and dentist is super cheap here. Like a lot of people will make their families come all the way here and then afterwards go to the dentist because it's just really cheap. For example, I cleaned all my teeth and then also did like all these other procedures, and I only had to pay like 300 ringgit. Where in Korea or in the States, I would probably have to pay more than $1,000. Like things like that is just really cheap here. Also, I heard surgery, like procedures and like healthcare is really well done here because a lot of the doctors here are actually people who study in like London or like in the States. And because they couldn't find a job there, they have to come all the way back here in Malaysia. And so they end up working here in Penang.
What do you think about Malaysia as a travel hub? Do you think it's a good travel hub? Why or why not?
I think Malaysia is a beautiful country. There's so much diversity to see here. If you want to see the beach, you can. If you want to see the mountains, you can. And also, it's just a really convenient place, especially to travel when you want to like just drive all the way to Thailand or into like Cambodia and other places. Like that is what a lot of teachers do here. And so it's just a really beautiful country and a lot of like interesting history here. I highly recommend traveling here.
Well, wrapping up, what are the pros and cons of living in Penang?
I'll start with cons. I think some of the cons is that I can't really think of anything right now. I lived in Turkey, and in Turkey, like the language barrier was so difficult. Like if you don't speak Turkish, you can't really get around here. But living in Penang, and there's so many people who can speak English here, and so that has been really easy to get around, and I really appreciate that. But in Malaysia, like the mainland, there's not a lot of people who speak English, and so you kind of have to learn Bahasa or know other languages to kind of get around. And so I would say like you can't really rely on that in the mainland unless you go to a very touristy area or just a vacation spot. And I guess that would be a con. Another thing is whenever like work visas or other government related things like going to the JPJ, which is kind of car or vehicle related things, sometimes they take a very long time. So you need to do everything in advance, like way in advance before, in order to process it because they just take a very long time. And so that can get a little frustrating at times. For pros, as I said, English is wonderful in Penang. And also there's a lot to see here. It's a beautiful country. People are very sweet here as far as my encounters has been like. Everyone thinks I'm from Malaysia, and so they keep on speaking to me in Bahasa or Hokkien, and it's great, but I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know the language. So yeah, it's been really funny. Everyone will talk to me in Bahasa or Hokkien, so it's been or Mandarin as well. So I guess I kind of blend in really well here. So I really like our school. Our school is like up for 90 years, and it's amazing, incredible community. And so I really like it here. And just teaching the students here, they are the sweetest. So yeah, I've had a blast this year.
Hi Young, thank you so much for sharing with Expats Everywhere on your experience in Penang, Malaysia.
Thank you for having me.